World has long debated whether the First Crusade was an unprovoked offense or an overdue defense. Although media coverage often portrays the Islamic world as historically peaceful until provocation by the Crusades, it is known that Muhammad led military campaigns and conquered Jews and Christians, leading to eventual retaliation through the Crusades. To uncover why the First Crusade occurred, we must go back to the beginnings of Islam. The rise of Islam begins with the Prophet Muhammad's migration from Mecca to Medina in 622. In 627, Muhammad's leadership had led to the destruction of the last Jewish tribe in Medina, gathering a huge Arab following to raid the Christian Byzantines and Zoroastrian Persians, starting Islamic violence. Islam restricts violence within their faith, but attacks on non-Muslims were not prohibited and instead sanctioned by the Hadith. Religious conversion was banned in all Islamic kingdoms, placing stress on the divine obligations of the conquered Christian cities. Attacks on the Byzantine Empire persisted until 1453. However, many great Christian cities fell to the Muslim Arabs much earlier, such as Alexandria and Jerusalem, giving the Islamic kingdoms the strength to continue waging war throughout Christian kingdoms in the 640s.
The fall of great cities to Islamic kingdoms persisted in other areas. Less than a generation after the Prophet Muhammad's death in 632, Christian North Africa, which was valued as the home of theologians, who were central to the development of Christian tradition and thought, and were rich with Christian history, had ultimately fallen to Islam. North Africa, from Egypt to present-day Morocco, was a vibrant and vital part of the pre-Islamic Christian world. Large enclaves of Christians endured until the turn of the millennium, especially in Egypt, where perhaps 10% of the population remains Christian even today.
Around 663, Islamic forces and Byzantines exchanged control of the land in Anatolia, making life difficult for Christians during Arab attacks. As the Byzantines recovered majority of the land from Islamic forces between 863 to 970, Seljuk Turks began replacing Muslim overlords before the Byzantine emperor was taken for ransom in 1071 in the Battle of Manzikert.
Evidence in Sicily and Italy further contests the claim that the Crusades were the first major clash between Christendom and the Islamic world, because far before the First Crusades, conflict already occurred between Italian and Islamic kingdoms. In the year 700, Muslims repeatedly attacked Sicily and the rich islands of Sicily and Sardinia. In 827, Muslim forces made an alliance with the Duke of Naples for the Muslims to use their ports for raids and assist in their attacks on Sicily. This web of alliances restricted Italy from acting with a unified voice. However, with the support of Byzantine leaders, the Christians were able to defeat the Arabs with a successful counterstrike in 1087, in which they won trading rights and freed prisoners.
Spain and France also experienced violent encounters with Islam prior to the First Crusade. Beginning in 711, the Muslim general Tariq bin Ziyad led an army across the Straits of Gibraltar and invaded then-Christian Spain. Tariq defeated the Visigothic king of Spain in 712, destroying the Christian control of the peninsula in one blow. Cordoba and Granada fell immediately, and Valencia 2 years later. By 720, Muslim armies were crossing the Pyrenees into Narbonne in present-day southern France and raiding deeper and deeper into the Frankish kingdom.
The next year, Charles Martel, chief minister of the Frankish kingdom, met a major Muslim incursion somewhere between Tours and Poitiers and defeated it. Muslim armies never again penetrated so deeply into Frankish territory. By 769, the Franks had driven the Muslims out of their kingdom, and in 795, Charlemagne set up a buffer region in the northern part of present-day Catalonia, reaching as far south as the Ebro River. Afterwards, the Franks offered intermittent assistance to unconquered Spanish Christians as they fought to keep the most of their peninsula.
After centuries of attacks and a few tentative responses of their own, Western Europeans were finally ready to mount a major counteroffense, very far from the first major clash between Islam and Christianity.
This counteroffense came into formation at the Council of Piacenza in early 1095, where Pope Urban II allowed a delegation from the Byzantine Empire to address the assembled churchmen and plead for military aid. Once Urban arrived to central France, he called for aid to Eastern Christians in the Holy Land on November 27, 1095. The First Crusade had finally begun, and with it, a new stage in the ongoing conflict between Islam and the Christian West.
Overall, the First Crusade came as a consequence of years of conflict between the religions of Christianity and Islam through efforts of territorial conquest, ultimately triggered by the Seljuk Turks taking Anatolia and cutting off the overland routes in 1071 after defeating the Byzantine Christians at the Battle of Manzikert.